Welcome to the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. Podcast created to provide information about what life is like inside the most specialized special tactics organization in the U.S. Air Force. In these episodes, we'll be bringing you the experiences from many of our experts, ranging from our human performance optimization staff, our combat mission supporters, as well as our special warfare operators. Our main objective with these podcasts are to provide the listener with a unique look inside our culture of excellence. Now, sit back, relax, take some notes, prepare to hear from some of the Air Force's finest. Thank you for joining us on the Insight Thru Experience Podcast. All right, welcome to another episode of Insight Thru Experience Podcast. This episode is going to focus on day 3 of the operator selection process, the candidate's perspective. So if you listen to the first 2, hopefully you've noticed a little progression. Day 1, I think this is common in a lot of things that we do in our lives. The first day of anything, we're excited. The energy's still high. Day 2 of our process, they started getting challenged a little bit. You hear their energy levels coming down, sleep depth, not there yet, but they are starting to have sleep taken away from them. So you'll hear a little bit of that in their voice, maybe even trying to process their thoughts at the end of a long day. And then you hear that they all had an experience where stress was applied. They didn't perform very well, which helped turn up the stress from the cadre staff to them, and then them trying to process that experience and what they should do with that moving into day 3. And as I was editing day 3 for this episode, what starts standing out to me is just how desperately humans need a win. Guys didn't perform very well in day 3 either, but they felt like they did. They felt like they did better than the night before in day 2. So you'll hear a lot of guys saying, yeah, I think I did pretty well during this event. And in reality, if you were on the cadre side watching it, they didn't do very well, at least the majority of them. Doesn't mean that there weren't some high spots and some really low spots, but on the average, their performance was a lot lower than they perceived it. Many reasons that could be true, but I think we as humans, we need a win. We're always searching for that win. Losses feel worse than wins. We need something in our environment telling us that we are on the right path and moving in the right direction. And this is hard when you're in something like an assessment and selection model, whether you're down at Lackland, whether you're in another service doing this, or whether you're coming to our assessment and selection up here at a very elite unit. You're not going to get a lot of positive feedback. We want you to determine what the right path is and if you're on it or not. Will you get a lot of critical feedback? You absolutely will. And those are really just nudges from us, helpful hints that, man, you are off the path a little bit and you need to course correct. We want to see you be able to motivate yourself, to find that self-drive and to keep pushing forward. We also want to see the ability for you to take feedback and correct your path as needed. So it kind of sucks, right? If we're looking at this from a 10,000-foot perspective, really what you're getting is feedback after the fact. After your rudder has already made the turn or you've already chosen your azimuth, we're going to give you feedback that wasn't the right azimuth. So all you can do moving forward is adjust your rudder, try a new course, take the feedback that you were given, process the data, make an azimuth adjustment, and move forward. And then execute another task and see what feedback you're getting. If you're getting the same feedback over and over, there might be a problem. If you're getting new feedback, then you know that your rudder adjustment may have been a good adjustment, and then you're applying the new feedback to make minor tweaks or major tweaks as needed. So as we move into this day 3 episode, I just want you to listen to the words, to the energy levels, through how they're thinking through the daily events. And also what I want you to listen to is how a few of them begin to struggle mentally in being able to put together concepts, thoughts, and bringing it all together into one summation. Not something negative on them. It's how the human brain works. And another reason why we think sleep depth is a really good way to test mental fortitude as well as problem solving. Very rarely are operators in a prime condition when they hit target. So we want to get these guys in kind of a similar depleted state and watch them have to solve complex problems in a team and still be a good teammate, still be individually driven, see them use proper techniques to manage their stress, because once you get tired, your ability to buffer that stress is reduced greatly. That's where their ability to take feedback from the people around them, especially their teammates and peers, be able to take that feedback, realize that they maybe suffering from some effects of stress or something else. Take that feedback, adjust course, and move out more productively. All the beautiful things we get to produce and we get to see the effects of during Operator A&S. All right, enough priming the episode. Let's get into it. So again, this is day number 3 of operator selection, the candidate's perspective, and we begin with Charlie 1-1. We appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of Insight Thru Experience Podcast. Let's go.
All right, Charlie 1-1. First question, how would you describe the experience today? Today was a lot of fun. It was challenging. The tasks that we accomplished were both physical and mental, and the physical tasks, again, I'll get into it later, but I think I'll just never miss the opportunity to emphasize that the program on the website for the 724 assessment prep has me feeling pretty good through some of these physical events. So hats off to the program there. And yeah, the experience today was fun. It was challenging, mentally exhausting again. Sleep deprivation is definitely starting to catch up, and it's only getting worse. All right, next question. How did you perform today? Would like some stuff back, and I think I'm going to end up saying that every day. Yesterday was, swing and a miss, and wish you had it back. And this one, there was improvement, which is good, and I'll jump into that and some feedback I got as well. But, I wish my individual brief would have been how I planned it and had visualized it going. It's funny that I spend most of my time in my job briefing, and for whatever it is, it's likely just attributed to stress tolerance. My briefing, I don't feel like has been up to standard for at least my standard, and likely not the assessment standard for my position. So in that respect, wish I could do it again. Think I had a better product, just didn't cover it well in the brief. And then what I did well today, after 360 feedback tonight, and based off last night's cadre feedback, so from the team guys, much better today in mission planning and problem solving with establishing a direction. So, issuing mission guidance and intent, and then letting problem solvers solve problems. However, with the caveat that I have a tendency to, just based on the job I have at my unit that I'm stationed with, I have a tendency to just want to be a problem solver, because that's where I'm at in my career, but really just in my position. So taking that step back to focus on the officer-specific tasks is more challenging than I anticipated. I don't think I'm necessarily totally missing the mark on the officer-specific tasks. However, I am, taking time away from those to clarify the overarching, format, principles, etc. of how we get from cradle to grave mission planning, and I'm diving in specifically to tactical problems that I think I am equipped to solve, but it's not really my role in this environment. So realizing that. I did better of that today, and I kept myself out of it more, but it did happen today, and just got to continue to try to get better tomorrow. But overall, much better mission planning with formatting and giving the guys directions and letting them solve problems. And I kind of already touched again. Improve on tomorrow. Just improve on establishing clear intent and guidance, and letting the subject matter experts be subject matter experts and set them up for success in every way possible, giving them information, guidance, and intent to succeed. If I could go back in time and prepare for what you did today, what would you do and why? Once again, hats off to the 724 program, emphasizing grip strength, a big part of today, and I think I'd perform fairly well. And then as far as the problem solving, mission planning aspect, that's what's, I guess, funny. I beat the dead horse in the last question. It's just funny that this is my job, and the environment, I think, is just listening. The stress tolerance is not where I would like it to be, and the rep wasn't as good as I think it can be. So it's just the continuous improvement process here of dealing with that stress and making it better for next time, taking the feedback. What's adding the most stress to you so far in the process, and how are you dealing with it? I think, again, the sleep deprivation is adding to the stress. And then, the condensed timelines for the planning sessions is, like I said before, forcing me, or it's making me want to jump into roles that aren't mine to help solve the tactical problems and not guide the ship that is on the mission to get the plan in place to win. Are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? No, I think everybody's in the same boat. Just figuring out some of these complex problems and then trying to apply formats, briefing formats, execute solid mechanics of communication. It's all there. Everybody's in the thick of it. And then who performed well today and what did they do? Stood out to use. Charlie 1.5 is he's a stud. He when he speaks, it's meaningful. He's an older guy, but he's a senior airman, I believe. But he carries himself like an NCO. It's phenomenal. He gives real pointed feedback. He's a fairly good briefer too. He gets a little nervous and outside of himself at times, but again, he's very comfortable with taking pregnant pauses and remaining, confident enough to get through. And then his expertise, he is a subject matter expert. He is a problem solver. He's somebody that you want on your team.
Charlie 1-2, how would you describe your experience you had today? I would describe it as enlightening. Today was the first day that I started feeling that mental and physical fatigue. We've only done a couple workouts so far, but the workouts that we've done were to complete failure. Today I noticed that on Hang In There. And with the mental fatigue that I'm starting to feel, I think it's starting to affect my ability to think on the fly, problem solve, and fine motor skills, which is it's enlightening to work through that, kind of start finding out where your limits are, and I'm excited to see how that diminishes over the next couple of days. Morale is still high. Morale of the team is still high. Everybody's still enjoying their experience here. I don't hear anybody talking about their experience being unprofessional or bad. So the day went well. How'd you perform today? What did you do well? What do you need to improve upon tomorrow? I think my performance went a lot better today. I kind of took to heart the feedback yesterday about being a better team sergeant, about troop leading a little bit better, and giving more direction. I realized that even if we get a novel mission set or a non-standard problem to solve, you can still fall back on what you know and go back to your troop leading processes and more traditional MDMP if time allows. And that just keeps you focused and drives the train in the right direction and keeps everybody on task. What do you need to improve upon for tomorrow? I need to not self-deprecate. I tend to use that as a way to make people's strengths pop out when I talk to them, and also to lighten the mood. I'm starting to realize that I am looked at as a more experienced or one of the most experienced guys on the team, and right now everybody respects me, and what I say tends to be gospel is what I've gotten back from the other students. And I've gotten feedback from one of the officers saying you don't want that to turn into, that self-deprecation to turn into doubts of my capabilities or my experience or the direction that I put out. So I'm going to knock that off. What's adding the most stress to you so far in this process, and how are you dealing with it? The most stress is the professionalism and the experience the cadre bring when you're dealing with the mission planning process and the briefing process. With every word that comes out of your mouth is meticulously analyzed and criticized, because words mean things. And I think all of the students need to realize before you talk, you have to think and process. Because once you get out to the real world and you're dealing with outside entities, everything you say is going to be criticized. And it's very important to think about what you're going to say before you say it, and try to convey that you know the answer, and convey that confidence when you're in front of people that are more experienced than you and that you respect. And are other candidates dealing with the same stressors or something different? I think most of us are dealing with the same stressors. I believe the interviews with the cadre and the mission planning and briefing is a trend for one of the number one stressors so far. Who performed well today, call sign only, and what did they do that stood out to you? Charlie 2-4. I watched his brief today, and his pitch, tone, pace, everything was on cue. He sounded very intelligent. He got his point across very fast. I was highly impressed with his performance during his brief.
Charlie 1-3. First question, how would I describe the experience that I had today? I would say the experience I had today was pretty awesome. I really got to push myself today and kind of break out of my shell that I felt like I was in for the last day or so. And I really got to kind of really get moving, trying to become a better kind of team leader and problem solver today. And that was really good. All right, second question. How did you perform today, and what did you do well, and what do you need to improve upon for tomorrow? I think my performance today was a step in the right direction. I don't think I'm all the way there where I need to be. What I did well was I think I didn't get too excited and go off the rails. I kind of held my composure and was able to make somewhat of an informed decision on what our courses of action were going to be for the problems that we had today. What do I need to improve upon for tomorrow? I need to get out of my shell quicker and actively engage better as an NCO. If I could go back in time and prepare for what I did today, what would I do and why? I think I would go back and probably put a little bit more focus in my prep for this and mission planning, and I'd probably work a little bit more with some of the senior NCOs that I have and CROs, because they're a huge asset to lean on. I think that would have helped me a lot. Next question is, what's adding the most stress to me so far in the process, and how am I dealing with it? A, are other candidates dealing with it the same stress or something different? So the thing that's adding the most stress for me so far in the process is I'm finding it, sometimes I tend to doubt my abilities as a leader and kind of as an asset to the team. Being an instructor at the assessment and selection for AFSPEC War, I don't really get to do a lot of team guy stuff, and we don't do a lot of mission planning as in relation to CSAR and things like that. So that kind of adds a little bit of stress. I'm trying to deal with it by just keeping the brilliance in the basics and just going with what I know and not getting boxed in the thought process or planning process. Second part to that last question, are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? I believe that there are some other candidates that are dealing with that as well. I think that there's some new guys on the team, and that they're probably dealing with some, not really knowing where to go in certain situations because of lack of experience. But that's pretty much it. And next question and last question is, who performed well today, call sign only, and what did they do that stood out to you? So today I would say Charlie 1-5 did a good job of passing relevant information, and I would say that relates to interpersonal effectiveness. I think that there is a lot of confidence there and maturity, and I think that that was done well today by Charlie 1-5.
Charlie 2-5. How would I describe the experience I had today? PT was challenging, but I was surprisingly well prepared. How did I perform today? I think I performed pretty well. What did I do well? So I think I had my priorities exactly right. I've been spending a lot of time on the team mission. I felt like I would be a little underprepared for the individual mission with the GFC brief, but it turned out that I was pretty spot on with what I needed to do in there. Things I need to improve upon for tomorrow is still speaking more loudly and confidently, specifically in front of the cadre. If I could go back in time and prepare for what I did today, what would I do and why? I think I would spend more time doing COA development, COA analysis while on a time crunch. What is adding the most stress to me so far in this process? How am I dealing with it? The thing that's adding the most stress is gonna be still public speaking, I think, but I am dealing with it by just taking feedback and improving each day. I think are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? I think several other people are dealing with this stress of public speaking. I know a lot of guys feel very confident among the team, but as soon as they get in front of cadre in a graded event, including myself, that confidence kind of withers. Who performed well today, and what did they do that stood out to me? I think Charlie 26 performed very well today on the PT events. I just really noticed his hustle to finish his individual portion of the carry so that he could get back to helping out the team with the slosh pole.
All right, hey guys, Charlie 32. How would you describe the experience you had today? Just like the previous experiences from the past several days, absolutely amazing. Definitely getting to push myself out of my boundaries, to explore new thoughts and ways to interact with the team, to lead, and to turn complicated thoughts into well-structured sentences. Question 3 reads, how did you perform today? What did you do well? What do you need to improve upon for tomorrow? So today, I think I did all right with kind of directing traffic on my team. I think I did good at communicating as far as it comes to stage presence and having an outline. I think what I failed on in communicating was just having the right words. There's a couple times where I wanted to say something, but I said the wrong thing. And so that's something that I'm going to improve upon for tomorrow. The next question reads, if you go back in time and prepare for what you did today, what would you do and why? I probably would have studied certain materials, certain different things that can commonly be found, and asking other guys in the team room about certain specialties. I won't go too much into detail about that, but definitely just getting to know some of the other career fields better, just like some of the other times. It's just such a helpful thing when you can understand special tactics as a whole. Next question reads, what's adding the most stress to you so far in the process? How are you dealing with it? Are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? So right now at this point, it's just physical abilities limitations. Definitely as you start to burn the fuse on sleep, you will start to reduce your critical capacity for thinking and developing thoughts, but not that big of a deal. It's actually a good experience to learn that, and so you can really have a foundation in your mind of how you want to problem solve. And yeah, there's no doubt that the rest of the team is also dealing with the same stressors. Who performed well today? Call sign only. And what did they do that stood out to you? Yeah, I'm definitely going to say that was Charlie 36. Definitely did really good. I think he had organized thoughts. However, he had kind of a funny way of presenting his thoughts, almost cringeworthy. And what he did really well was he took the feedback and was like, yeah, man, I definitely will apply that and won't make the same mistakes. I also would point out that Charlie 3-3 did really well today with the task that we had. He was able to make convincing arguments and get his point across very effectively. And that pretty much completes the assignment. Thanks for the opportunity.
Charlie 3-3, how would you describe the experiences you had today? So again, today was a little more laid back. We had a physical event. In all honesty, it wasn't as challenging as I thought it would have been coming in. I know it's going to be something that comes creeping up later on, but as far as the interviews and briefings today, everything was definitely still very professional, very deliberate, and it kind of you're learning even without a ton of cadre input. You're learning on the fly some different ways to solve problems. How did I perform today? Today, I think I performed well. I think I performed well in the physical event. I think I performed well at my given briefing. What did I do well? I think I did enough planning and research that I had a solid plan going in. Without getting into details, I was able to fall back onto the data I had researched in order to answer questions when they arose. What do you need to improve upon for tomorrow? So today I realized after we did our peer review, our start, stop, continue, one thing that kind of hit home for me, and it seems small, but once we had the feedback, I kind of realized what the deeper meaning was. But I got a little caught up in my own personal tasks opposed to being with the group, completing that puzzle in the front. I know we've had the task that we had for a couple days, and I kind of just it stayed in the back of my mind. I kept going back and tweaking it, and I should have been spending time with the group, because what that group project was really about was building that camaraderie before we go and do hard things together. If I can go back in time and prepare for what I did today, what would you do and why? So if I can go back and prepare for today, I tell myself, this pertains to my briefing, but I tell myself not to be a freaking robot, to go in there and communicate with the person sitting across me like a human. Definitely still with respect, but as a human being instead of the way I was, very stiff and rigid. What's adding the most stress to you so far in the process? It's definitely just the accumulation of tasks, constant thinking, not so much worrying about what's coming next, but thinking about what I need to do now, and completing tasks, still learning people, getting to know people, trying to give myself feedback and criticisms, as well as others, and how am I dealing with that stress? I try to find time every now and then to just take a couple deep breaths, either walk outside, get a little fresh air, just to clear my mind for a second. Are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? I think it's definitely a lot of the same thing, whether it's realized or not. Just the continuous, always thinking and always task focus is gonna tax you. Who performed well today? Call sign only. And what did they do that stood out to you? I thought Charlie 3-1 really performed well today, and what I mean by that is he made leaps and bounds based on the criticism he was given yesterday in his troop leading capability. I think in his focus and not. So to go along with that, his demeanor, his communication, everything improved overnight. So I could tell he really put some focus into that, and that hit home for me.
Charlie 4-3, how would you describe the experience you had today? I thought today, it was a long day, but I thought it was a pretty good day.
Got to do some PT grip event. It went rather well for me. I thought it was a good experience, kind of for a team and for a group. Then we went into some more I went into some psych evals, security clearance stuff, admin stuff, and then went into our GFC briefs, and then we had a follow-on group project, and then had more kind of priorities of work, time amongst the team. So in all, it was a long day. There's a lot that went on, but I thought it was a productive and positive day. Question 3, how did you perform today? I feel like overall my performance was pretty good. What did I do well? I think in the group project, I really stepped up and acted in a more NCO role, which is something I was challenged with in some of the feedback I received. Kind of stepping out of the role of just like spitballing or throwing out ideas, but kind of trying to help make sure that the how and why are understood, and then answering questions for some of the younger guys on the team who don't quite have the subject matter expertise or just simply don't have the exposure to some of the facets of what we were talking about today. So I thought I did well at being able to kind of be that teacher and that mentor in that aspect. What do you need to improve upon for tomorrow? I think definitely my my public speaking or presenting skills. During my GFC brief, I didn't do a very good job in my presentation at all, frankly. That's something I'm pretty upset about. So yeah, I need to improve on how I'm projecting and carrying myself when given a brief under stressful conditions, or maybe being flustered or nervous. If you could go back in time and prepare for what you did today, what would you do and why? I definitely would have gone over my GFC brief out loud. That's one thing I didn't do. I just went over it in my head, like thinking I knew the points, but I think a good check on kind of my understanding or check on my knowledge would have been to just do a full-on brief where I'm speaking out loud, in my room or kind of off to the side away from everyone. And then I think that would have put me in a better position to be able to adapt when the follow-on questions came from the ground commander, kind of poking holes in my plan and seeing how I would react to that. Those kind of threw me off a little bit because some of them were outside of my level of preparedness. What's adding the most stress to you so far in the process? I would say it's definitely the sleep deprivation and the mental stress. I really felt it like this morning in particular. Just felt like I was really tired and kind of like really having to be really intentional and focusing at the task at hand and trying to keep my wits about me. And how are you? I kind of answered that already, but how are you dealing with it? I feel like I'm doing all right because I'm conscious of it, so I'm able to kind of coach myself through it. I recognize I'm not going to be able to function at 100%, but I still can perform at a high level. I know it's probably going to degrade as the rest of the day goes on, but I think as long as I try to keep my wits about me and stay as focused as I can and understand that, one, like this is for a time, it's not, for forever, like it'll end, and that there's an end state that's, something that I want, and that's being hired for this organization. Our other candidate dealing with the same stress or something different? I think in line with the past 2 nights, we're all kind of dealing with the same stress. Again, talking with the guys today, we're all kind of going through the same things mentally, physically. Some people are hurting more than others, but we're all kind of in the same place in terms of like the stress tolerance, sleep deprivation, mental fatigue. Who performed well today, and what did they do that stood out to you? Charlie 4-6 stood out to me, especially in our group project because he didn't do so well in his GFC brief. His kind of inexperience and lack of knowledge kind of was shown and kind of flushed him a little bit, but I think he got some feedback kind of early on in our group project, and we kind of gave him some feedback during that kind of brought him out of that spot, and he had some really good insights as the red cell for us, because we kind of were able to leverage his inexperience and lack of knowledge to poke holes in our plans, to kind of catch us if we're going too into the weeds with things, or using too uncommon of language. So I was really impressed with how he handled that, and I think he's come a long way, and I think he'll continue to improve greatly. And I'm excited to see that and go along that process with him.
All right, another day down. Charlie 4-5. How would you describe the experience you had today? Physically interesting, I'll say that. We did some physical events that were pretty novel, and that was interesting, and definitely a solid day for at least my team's team building. How did you perform today? What did you do well? What do you need to improve on for tomorrow? I think I performed well today. I would have liked to have done better on some of the memory stuff this morning. But in retrospect, looking at what was within the limits of my control and what I accomplished today, I am happy with how I did. And then for the rest of the day, for our main engagement of the day, our main event, I believe I did pretty well. Definitely developed some good COAs, and I think I generated some good ideas for the use of our group. Tomorrow, I improved upon this today, but I think I could take it a little bit farther tomorrow, not getting bogged down in like the rabbit holes of planning, making sure that my thoughts are clear and concise, and making sure that ideas that I have are thought out within a timeline. If I could go back in time and prepare for what I did today, what would you do and why? From a physical standpoint, I think I actually did prepare pretty well for what we did today, but I didn't even mean to do it. But I would train my grip and do some memory exercises, try to remember some numbers, and then go on a ruck and see if you remember those numbers. Do something like that. What is adding the most stress to you so far in the process? How are you dealing with it? I think like yesterday, right now I'm not particularly stressed about much. I would say that knowing the bulk of the physical work is, in the near future. I don't know if that's stressful. I'm pretty excited for it, honestly, which sounds ridiculous, and it is kind of ridiculous, but This is when teams come together, fall apart, and come together again all at the same time. And it's going to be weird and awesome all at the same time. So let's go with fear of the unknown. Is that super stressful? Not really, but I think that's what I've got right now. Other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? We're all dealing with the same thing right now, but I think everybody's in pretty good spirits. We've got a good group of guys, and we're gonna go. And I don't know if this is something you can exactly crush, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Who performed well today, and what did they do that stood out to you? 4-1 and 4-2 definitely came together as a leadership element for our little team and began working a lot more effectively together, and that was super great to see that they made those improvements. 4-4 and 4-3 also were able to give a lot of subject matter expertise with some of the things that we were dealing with for our problem, and that was really helpful. They 4-4 especially did a really good job of interjecting his experience and had a lot of good insight. That applies to 4-3 as well. And 3-3 was an absolute monster on this morning. Absolutely crushed it. But it's another day down. I'm excited for what's coming.
Charlie, 4-1. How would you describe an experience you had today? I'd say today was pretty 50-50. There's some things I did well on, and I'd say there's probably an equal amount of things I did poor on. Overall, though, I feel like doing well, like my game plan staying the same of being myself and treating it one event at a time. It's doing well. You can tell each day there's little setbacks, but you have to kind of just push past them, focus on next event.
How did you perform today? What did you do well? What do you need to improve upon tomorrow?
I feel like I performed well on a few select events. I'd say one of them was a memorization event this morning. I utilized a technique that I've been taught in practice. It involves imagining your childhood home, and you go through it, and as you go through it, you place objects that you're supposed to memorize. So I use that technique, and I feel like it helped me a lot today. Additionally, the GFC brief, I feel like went well for me. I tried to keep it to the point, kept it concise, and I feel like that was one of the aims that the GFC wanted and was going for. So that went well. Additionally, the team event, the co-development afterwards went well. One of the instructors did have to give me some feedback to make sure to focus up and out, which I did as my team was working. So that once I got that feedback, I really think we started performing well, and we were able to get the specifics of the COA, but also the why does it matter to GFC and things like risk to force, risk to mission. Some big picture items as well in our co-development. So what do I need to improve upon for tomorrow? I think focusing on the little details. One of the events today involved very much listening to detailed instructions and being able to follow them. And I thought I had it right, and then as I began conducting the event, I realized I was off. So I'd say that for sure, especially with the sleep deprivation that's gonna kick in and get worse as time goes on. Like, I need to know when those times are that I have to really focus and get instructions, and kind of just tell myself mentally, like, hey, engage, figure out what you need to do. Because it's gonna be tough once we really start getting sleep deprived. If you could go back in time and prepare for what you did today, what would you do and why? See, I thought about this. I think a training thing that would help would be anytime you do your workouts, whether it's like a weekday lift or a weekend long ruck that you're going to do, like memorize something in the beginning, maybe something throughout, whether it's objects, like number combos, you name it, and then at the end have to write it down and then check your answers. I feel like that would be a strategy that would help a lot for some of the events here. What's adding the most stress to you so far in the process? How are you dealing with it? I'd say what's adding the most stress to me right now is, I wouldn't call it sleep debt because I wouldn't say we're in that state yet. I would say just the mental fatigue, maybe the slower processing. You can tell that you have to pay a little bit more attention when you're performing tasks. I'd say that's starting to be noticeable now, and I know that's definitely gonna exacerbate, get worse further on. So I'd say that right now, especially as team lead, having to plan things, communicate clear instructions. It's tough when you have that mental fog and are having to kind of focus through it. Are other candidates dealing with the same stress or something different? I say candidates are definitely experiencing that as well. I think another stress everyone's experiencing is just the unknown. That's the thing we're encountering day in, day out here. The unknown of what event's next. Especially when you see other candidates get pulled away for something, like, okay, something's about to happen. I'd say that's definitely a stressor. Who performed well today, and what did they do that stood out to you? I'd say Charlie 4-2. I mentioned him before, but again, he's a solid performer, one of the best on our team. I kind of give him that team sergeant role, and he takes it, and he does a great job with it. He keeps guys on track, focus on the task. He manages the timelines well. Additionally, he's really good at giving feedback. He gives it clear, concise, in a manner that's, coming from good intentions. I'd say Charlie 4-2.